Joining us now, big Hollywood editor-in-chief. Honestly, his real title, his real nickname around the Breitbart News offices is Obi-Wan. He is John Nolte, and I am very honored to have him as my guest. John, good morning.
Good morning, Larry. Thanks for having me on. Good to talk to you.
Thank you. Hey, so Game Change. Now, this is going to be a film on HBO, and if I remember right, this was a book. This is by John Heilman and Mark Halperin, journalists who covered the 2008 campaign. And the book is about the entire campaign. It's about McCain and the primary, and then McCain, of course, versus Obama. Also, a huge chunk of this book is about the rivalry between Clinton and Obama. I remember when this thing broke, there was a lot of dirty stuff in the press about all the feuding and fighting between the Clinton camps and the Obama camps. But now here we've got this HBO film, and it just focuses on one storyline, doesn't it, John?
Yes, well, this is what I call this is what the left loves to do, especially the left in Hollywood, and that's bravely speak truth to the out of power. Governor Palin is not in the race. She's not running for president. The current sitting president of the United States is Barack Obama. The current sitting Secretary of State is Hillary Clinton, and yet the movie takes a small portion of the book, 10, 15, 20% of the book, and chooses to tell the story about the out of power as opposed to illuminating or giving us some insight on the person currently sitting in power. And if anyone questions the fact over whether or not Game Change is going to be a hit job, I would send you to look at the trailer. The trailer proves the movie's a hit job. Actually,
we can play some audio on that. Let's play the setup first. This is clip one. This is Ed Harris as John McCain, Julianne Moore as Sarah Palin, and Woody Harrelson as McCain's political advisor.
We live in the age of YouTube and the 24-hour news cycle. How else do you think a man who has no major life accomplishments is beating an American hero? We need to create a dynamic moment in this campaign, or we're dead. If you are going to seriously consider the governor of Alaska, you have to call her now.
This is Sarah.
And there's the setup, and we've got more. I want to talk to John Nolte a little bit more about this, though. So there's the setup. This tells you everything you need to know about what this movie is about. And of course, the narrative that's built there is John McCain is desperate to make inroads against Obama, and so he picks Sarah Palin as a gimmick. Now, I don't remember it going down that way, John Nolte. Why is that the narrative here?
The narrative is that what HBO is trying to produce here is an in-kind contribution to Barack Obama. The producer of the film is Tom Hanks. He gave $170,000 all to Democrats in 2008. The director, Jay Roach, the writer, Danny Strong, both maxed out their contributions to Barack Obama in 2008. So this is a way for them to use a super PAC that I call HBO, spend millions of dollars, and attempt to create a silver bullet that will finally take Sarah Palin out. And you got to keep in mind that this film was produced, this film was announced last year when it still looked as though Sarah Palin might get in the race.
Right.
So they produced it when they thought she would be a threat to Barack Obama, their precious one, and they obviously chose to release it in what would be the heart of the presidential campaign.
Right, a week after Super Tuesday.
A week after Super Tuesday, exactly. And we all know that they looked at the calendar and they thought to themselves, well, a week after Super Tuesday, she might be cemented as the front runner. Let's fire this thing off then.
Yeah. And, you mentioned the political contributions of the directors, the writers, and the producers. Let's talk about the actors for a minute. I'm looking at Ed Harris here. Over the last couple of years, $21,000 in contributions to Emily's List, the DNC, to Al Franken, to Jeanne Shaheen, to Barack Obama, to the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Julianne Moore, she only gave $9,700, but again, to the DNC, Barack Obama, Democratic White House Victory Fund, John Kerry for president. It just permeates all of the people involved in this movie. How are we supposed to trust that they're doing anything from a position of honesty or faith to the truth?
Well, I mean, you not only can you not trust them, obviously, but you can't trust the very foundation upon which the film is based, and that's the book. The book is all unnamed sources, until, of course, Steve Schmidt, who is the guy who did blow the 2008 campaign for John McCain until he finally decided to come out of the closet and say, yeah, I was involved in both the movie and the book. Well, he's got an axe to grind, and he's had an axe to grind, and he's tried to put all the blame on Sarah Palin since this began. But Howard Kurtz, no right-winger has questioned the sourcing of the book. The New York Times has called the book sexist. So you're building a film based on the foundation of something that is almost completely questionable,
right?
And that is widely disputed.
But it certainly didn't stop HBO from making this film. All of those questions about the integrity of it. Let's go to clip 2 here, so you can hear where the narrative of this movie then takes a turn. This is clip 2 from the trailer of Game Change.
You know what they say the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull? Lipstick.
CNN has us even with Obama.
He can really win this thing.
I'm not sure how much she knows about foreign policy.
You can actually see Russia from land here in Alaska.
Oh my God, what have we done?
It wasn't my fault. I wasn't properly prepped.
I miss my baby. I miss sleeping with my baby.
She's on the verge of a complete nervous breakdown.
You're telling me what to say, what to wear, how to talk. I am not your puppet.
You know, suddenly it's Mommy Dearest, John Nolte.
She's both unprepared and wildly Machiavellian, and they didn't choose to. If they're going to do a movie about Sarah Palin, why not do a movie about why not do Going Rogue,
right.
Her own autobiography. And here's the other thing is that tomorrow, Big Hollywood is going to be launching a piece that's going to reveal how HBO played games with the Palin camp with respect to this movie. Some of the things that they told them that weren't entirely true, the ways that they tried to trick them into co-opting them in a way that would allow them to say that the Palin or her campaign or her camp in some way contributed to the film, therefore validating it. It's an interesting story, but these are bad people. And all they're trying to do is protect Barack Obama.
Well, and for those of you, and by the way, the Big Hollywood reference there from John Nolte, who is the editor-in-chief of Big Hollywood, and for those of you who think that we're just in the tank for Sarah Palin, Sarah Palin's official word on this is that she just wishes everyone would ignore it, but we are not following that advice. We will not be ignored, and we're taking a look at this Game Change film from HBO. I want to just run down this once again, because when Hollywood makes a movie about Republicans or conservatives, this is what they end up doing. You remember the Reagans movie, which starred James Brolin as Ronald Reagan. That was for Showtime, and it was originally for CBS, and it was so controversial they took it off. But that was going to be James Brolin as Ronald Reagan, and then his son, of course. Josh Brolin played George W. Bush in the Oliver Stone hit job. You've got Ed Harris playing John McCain here. Ed Harris, I'll never forget Ed Harris at the Oscars when Elia Kazan got his Lifetime Achievement Award, and Ed Harris refused to even applaud or stand up. He sat there with his arms crossed because he was so angry at Elia Kazan for telling the truth to the House Un-American Affairs Committee back in the 50s. Julianne Moore is absolutely, anti-Sarah Palin and anti-Republicans and a leftist. But when they make a movie about a Democrat, you get Sean Penn playing Harvey Milk in a Valentine to Harvey Milk. It's although I guess technically Harvey Milk wasn't a Democrat either, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
There's no such thing as an honest portrayal of politics coming out of Hollywood.
No, and one of the reasons that movies are so bad when they try to get into politics and when they try to make movies like Game Change, and Jay Roach and Danny Strong also were the duo that created the one-sided movie Recount about the George W. Bush, Al Gore, Florida situation in 2000. But the reason these movies are so bad is because when you have Julianne Moore talking about how much she hates Sarah Palin, she can't give that character any humanity.
Right.
Josh Brolin couldn't give George W. Bush any humanity. So that's what happens, and that's why these movies usually end up failing critically, just as standalone entertainment.
Well, on the other side of the equation, then let's try to give credit where it's due, if possible. Let's talk about Meryl Streep for a quick second, because I've heard her talk about Margaret Thatcher, and she has not said anything severely negative. I mean, all I've heard her say in interviews is whether you like her or not, whether you agree with her or not, you've got to admire this and this and this about her. What did you feel about her portrayal? I know that the movie has flaws, but specific to Meryl Streep's portrayal of Margaret Thatcher.
Well, unfortunately, I'm in the wilds of North Carolina, and the movie never came out here.
Oh my!
So I've heard good things about it. I've heard bad things about it. Big Hollywood got a copy of the script about a year before the film was produced, and it looked pretty harsh. So, I mean, the sense I get from the reviews I've read from everyone is that, you know, she sort of just plays this doddering old woman who's looking back on her life. And from the trailer, you could see that Streep is doing more of an impersonation than an actual characterization. But if there are exceptions that prove the rule, and if that in fact is a sympathetic portrayal, I would call that an exception that proves the rule.
Yeah. Again, John Nolte, our guest from Big Hollywood. Let's finish up. Let's listen to this final clip so the audience can really, really get a flavor of what they're doing to Sarah Palin. This is, again, the trailer for Game Change coming up on HBO next weekend.
I can't control her anymore.
I just don't want to let John down.
She's a great actress, right? Why don't we just give her some lines?
If I am single-handedly carrying this campaign, I'm going to do what I want.
It's not about you. It's about the country.
This isn't the campaign I wanted to run.
You have to win this thing. I so don't want to go back to Alaska.
Dun, dun, dun. Seriously, it sounds like a murder. It sounds like one of those, it sounds like Saw 7 with Sarah Palin.
Yeah, the dumbest Machiavellian character in the history of film. And are we really supposed to believe? I mean, there are at least 3 falsehoods in that trailer. If there are 3 falsehoods in 90 seconds, what is the movie going to look like? And are we really supposed to believe that she didn't want to go back to Alaska when, for the past 3 years, she's made plenty of money and stayed in Alaska?
Right. Oh, I know. Well, this has been the knock again. They've been saying this, since the moment the campaign was over, that she's just trying to get down here to the lower 48. And, of course, that's because the Hollywood elite and the Washington elite and the New York elite, they hate Alaska. They hate the idea of this frontier. They can't imagine why somebody would want to live up there, so they're projecting onto her.
Yeah, and the idea, of course, is to strip away that thing about her that we love, and that's the fact that she comes from a place where a lot of Republicans and conservatives comes from. She comes from this place that is not Manhattan, that is not Los Angeles, that is not Oregon, Washington. It's a small town. It's traditional American values. So they're trying to strip her of that of another thing. I mean, the left has already tried to destroy her family, and they've targeted her children, especially Trigg, to try and turn that positive into a negative. This lovely, very normal family that she has.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to take away that other thing. They're trying to, she's really just a hidden elitist. She's really just one of us. So why would you like someone who so doesn't want to go back to Alaska?
Well, we will.
Very insidious.
We'll certainly be looking forward to Andrew Sullivan's review of this movie, won't we, John Nolte?
Yes, I'm sure he wrote it years ago.
All right, John Nolte, editor-in-chief of Big Hollywood, thank you so much for joining us today. And we will look forward to Big Hollywood's continuing coverage of this film and everything else happening in Hollywood. Folks, what do you think of this? Give us a call, 866-509-RANT, 866-509-7268.